A crowded supermarket. A young woman accused of theft. Phones out, judgment everywhere. But what the cameras revealed left everyone speechless and turned a villain into a hero. Watch till the end to see the twist no one saw coming. Stop right there. Don't move. The words hit the air like an alarm, slicing to the chatter and clatter of a busy Saturday afternoon. The entire supermarket seemed to freeze. Shoppers looked up from their carts and baskets. Employees paused, halfway through restocking shelves. The automatic doors at the front glided shut with a gentle whoosh, but the sudden silence inside was deafening. Near the entrance, the store manager stood, a heavy-set man in his 50s, veins bulging at his temples, necktie askew. His face was bright red, his eyes burning with accusation as he jabbed a finger across the store. "There!" he barked. "Don't let her leave." All eyes landed on a young woman, barely out of her teens. Maya. Her shy smile had faded, replaced by shock. A single braid fell across her shoulder, her backpack hanging awkwardly as if she was caught mid-step. In her right hand, she clutched a small, unopened box of children's asthma medicine. Whispers rippled across the crowd, growing louder by the second. "Did you see that? Is she stealing? I think she took something." It all happened so fast. One moment, Maya was just another shopper. The next, she was at the center of a storm. Phones shot up everywhere, fingers tapping record. Social media was about a feast. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She felt the heat of 100 stares burning through her. Her mouth opened, trying to form words, but her voice caught in her throat. The world seemed to shrink, pressing it on her from all sides. A mother yanked her child closer, her face pinched with suspicion. A teenage boy smirked and started whispering to his friend, both of them pointing. Near the registers, an older man adjusted his glasses, shaking his head as if disappointed in humanity. The manager stormed forward, his shoes squeaking against the tile. The security guard, tall, broad-shouldered, and stone-faced, appeared by Maya's side in an instant, like a shadow. "Excuse me, miss," the guard said, voice low and official. "We need to have a word." Maya tried to step back, but bumped into a display of canned soup. The cans rattled, drawing even more attention. Her face flushed with humiliation. I didn't," she stammered, but her words dissolved in the noise of the crowd. The manager snatched a medicine box from Maya's hand, holding it up like evidence. "Well, what do you call this, then?" he boomed. Maya shook her head. "It's not what you think. Please." But her pleas were lost under the rising murmur. Someone in the back shouted, "Call the cops." Another voice chimed in, "People like her ruin it for everyone." It was chaos. Children stared wide-eyed. A cashier abandoned her register to watch. An elderly woman clucked her tongue in disapproval. Maya's mind raced. She replayed every step she'd taken since entering the store, trying to remember if she'd done something wrong, if she'd forgotten to pay. She looked around desperately, hoping someone would help, someone who saw what really happened. But the crowd only pressed closer, some angling for a better shot for their phones, others just hungry for drama. In those endless seconds, Maya felt utterly alone, trapped in a cage built not by bars, but by judgment, fear, and misunderstanding. And outside, beyond the glass doors, life carried on. Cars honked, birds sang, but inside, the world had narrowed to one girl and a box of medicine. No one in that supermarket could possibly predict that the truth, when it came out, would turn every accusation on its head and reveal a hero where everyone saw a villain. The manager's voice grew even louder, slicing through the air like a blade. "I saw you put something in your bag. You think you can just steal from us and walk away." His words were sharp, filled with certainty and indignation. Around Maya, the crowd tightened. Shoppers who just moments ago were minding their own business now stood as a living barrier, their faces twisted with suspicion. It was as if every bad news story they'd ever seen was playing out right in front of them. "Why would she do that?" whispered a woman, clutching a basket to her chest. Her eyes flicked between Maya and the manager, as if searching for a sign of guilt. A burly man, arms crossed and scowling, used his grocery cart as a blockade. He planted himself firmly in front of Maya, narrowing the gap toward the exit. Just admit it. We saw you, he said, his tone as cold as the freezer aisle. Maya felt the world closing in on her, every heartbeat thundering in her ears. I didn't steal anything, she said desperately, voice trembling. Please, let me explain. But the words barely left her lips before a woman to her left snapped. Save it for the police. Others pulled out their phones, angling for the best shot. Already, a few were whispering excitedly about the video they were recording. I'll post it right now. This'll go viral, muttered a teenager, thumbs moving quickly. Disgraceful, hissed an older man, shaking his head. No shame these days. A group of teenagers snickered, some jeering, some just curious of the spectacle. She doesn't look like a thief, one whispered. That's what they want you to think, another replied, eyes wide with drama. The word stung. Maya felt heat rise to her cheeks, her vision blurring with tears. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor, and escape the eyes that seemed to burn holes through her. But there was nowhere to run. The store security guard approached, tall and imposing in his crisp navy uniform. He moved between Maya and the exit, folding his arms as if to say, You're not going anywhere. His hand hovered near his walkie-talkie, ready to call the police with a single word. Miss, we're going to need you to stay right here, he said, his voice stern but not unkind. Maya nodded, unable to trust her own voice. Her hands trembled as she clutched the medicine box, a small object that suddenly felt like a weight she could never explain. Just give up, someone shouted from the back. People like her ruin everything. Another called. The noise grew, accusations, insults, and all the venom of a mob convinced of its righteousness. Some even stepped closer, as if proximity alone would force a confession. Lost in the chaos, nobody noticed a small drama unfolding a few feet away. A little boy, maybe 6 or 7, stood at the end of aisle 4. He wore a faded green t-shirt, eyes wide and scared. Suddenly, he began to cough, a harsh, wheezing sound that echoed down the shelves. His mother frantically rummaged through her purse, her face etched with panic. But the crowd was blind, their judgment fixed firmly on Maya. No one heard the child's desperate coughs over the buzz of outrage. No one saw his mother's frantic hands as she searched for his inhaler. No one noticed as the boy's coughs grew more ragged, his chest heaving, tears starting to stream down his cheeks. All eyes remained locked on Maya, the supposed thief. Maya's gaze flicked briefly toward the child. She saw the fear in his eyes. She saw his mother's hands, trembling with helplessness. But the wall of people around her pressed even closer, drowning out any hope of being heard or believed. And in that moment, as Maya stood alone in a sea of judgment, she realized that the truth had become invisible. The crowd saw only what they wanted to see. And no one, not yet, understood how wrong they all were. The security office was cold, painted in shades of gray that made it feel more like a cell than a room. The door shut with a heavy thud behind Maya as the guard led her inside. She stumbled into the hard plastic chair, the medicine box still gripped tight in her shaking hands. The manager followed, his chest puffed with self-righteous pride. He snatched Maya's backpack from her lap and unzipped it with a flourish, as if preparing for a magic trick. Let's see what else you're hiding, he muttered, rummaging through her things. Maya kept her eyes on the floor, her breaths coming quick and shallow. Each second seemed to last forever, the murmurs of the angry crowd outside drifting through the door like a storm. She could hear snippets. That's her, the thief. What did she think would happen? And every word felt like another stone thrown her way. With a triumphant cry, the manager pulled the small box from her bag and held it up for all to see. See, caught red-handed, he declared, turning to security guard and the supervisor who'd entered quietly. There's no doubt now. Maya's voice cracked with desperation. Please, it's not what you think. I swear I wasn't stealing. The little boy, he couldn't breathe. His mother needed this. Please, just check the cameras. You'll see I was trying to help. But her words vanished into the heavy silence of authority. The manager scoffed, already reaching for his phone. I'm calling the police. You can tell them your story. The security guard avoided Maya's pleading gaze, but the supervisor, an older woman with gentle eyes, hesitated, her brow furrowing with uncertainty. She looked at Maya, then at the manager. "Before we call our parents," she suggested quietly, "shouldn't we check the footage? It's policy." The manager grumbled, annoyed at the suggestion, but not wanting to argue with protocol. "Fine, let's prove what we already know." He jabbed a few buttons, bringing up the store surveillance system. The monitor flickered to life, and they scrolled back to earlier that afternoon. Outside the office, the crowd pressed close to glass, some cupping hands against the window, eager for a glimpse of justice being served. The whispers grew louder, fueled by rumors and half-truths. Inside, the video played. The first few moments seemed to confirm the manager's suspicions. Maya walking quickly through the aisles, glancing over her shoulder, the box of medicine visible in her hand. But then the footage zoomed in, revealing the chaos that had gone unnoticed. A small boy, his face red and twisted in panic, clung to his mother's arm as he struggled to breathe. The mother's purse was appended on the floor, items scattering as she frantically searched for something she couldn't find. Maya spotted them. Her entire posture changed. She rushed to the pharmacy shelf, grabbed the medicine, tore open the box, and handed it. No, pressed it into the mother's hands. The two women helped the child together, Maya guiding the inhaler to the boy's lips. Within moments, his breathing slowed. The mother's face crumpled in relief, tears streaming down her cheeks. Maya patted her arm, then, holding the empty medicine box, turned toward the front of the store, heading to the register, waving the box, trying to catch the distracted cashier's attention. The office fell utterly silent. The only sound was the faint hiss of the air conditioner. The manager's face lost all its bluster, draining of color. The security guard swallowed hard, unable to meet Maya's eyes. Even the supervisor looked stricken, her lips parted in astonishment. The truth was there for all to see, undeniable and clear. Maya hadn't been a thief. She'd been a hero, risking embarrassment and accusation for a child's life. The manager finally managed to whisper, We got it all wrong." Outside, the crowd was still buzzing, but inside that gray little office, the weight of shame and realization hung thick in the air. The grainy footage rolled on the security monitor, painting the scene with unforgiving honesty. The room, once thick with accusation, grew silent as each eye in the office was drawn to the screen. There was Maya, just as the manager had described, walking past the pharmacy aisle, her steps brisk but unhurried. But the next few seconds changed everything. On camera, a small boy, maybe 6 or 7, collapsed to his knees in the middle of the aisle, clutching at his chest, his face twisted in panic, mouth opening and closing as he struggled for air. His mother's frantic hands dove into her purse, tossing aside keys, a wallet, tissues, her search growing more desperate with each passing moment. In the center of chaos, Maya froze. For the briefest instant, fear and uncertainty flashed across her face. She looked to the mother, to the boy, then her eyes landed on the shelf of children's asthma medicine. Without a second's hesitation, she bolted, her backpack swinging wildly behind her. She grabbed the first box she saw, tore it open with shaking hands, and rushed back, kneeling beside the boy. With urgent speed, Maya handed the inhaler to the mother, who fumbled to fit it together. Maya steadied the woman's hands, helping her press the device to the child's lips. The boy's breathing was ragged, each breath wheezing, but after 2 quick puffs, his chest began to settle. Tears streamed down the mother's face as she clutched her son, her body racked with relief. Maya remained by their side, her own eyes shimmering with worry and hope. Only when the boy's breath slowed did Maya slowly stand, glancing around the aisle as if expecting someone to appear and take charge. But instead of running or hiding, Maya gathered the empty medicine box and walked straight to the register at the front of the store. She waved the box, trying to get the cashier's attention. The camera showed her calling out, her lips moving, her arm raised. But the cashier was caught up in a heated price check, oblivious to Maya's presence and the urgency in her eyes. It was in that moment, just as Maya lingered uncertainly at the counter, that the manager strode up, face thunderous, voice booming accusations. Maya's expression, captured in the harsh store lights, wasn't one of guilt, but frustration, confusion, and lingering worry. Back in the office, The manager's confidence drained away. His face turned a ghostly shade, his mouth working silently as he struggled to process what he'd just seen. She saved that boy's life, he stammered, voice barely above a whisper. The security guard stood rooted to the spot, embarrassment flushing his cheeks. Even the police officers, who'd arrived just in time to watch the last of footage, stood in stunned silence. Their radio crackled quietly, ignored for the first time all afternoon. The supervisor, her voice soft but clear, turned to Maya. Tears streamed down Maya's cheeks, this time not from shame or fear, but from overwhelming relief. You're not a thief, Maya. You're a hero. I'm so sorry, the supervisor said, placing a gentle hand on Maya's trembling shoulder. One of the officers shook his head in awe. You did everything right, young lady. That little boy, he owes you his life. From outside, the crowd's angry murmurs could still be heard, but inside the office, the atmosphere shifted. Shame and regret replaced accusation. The manager, humbled and at a loss, cleared his throat. I'm sorry, Maya. I judged you without knowing the truth. Maya managed a trembling smile through her tears, clutching her backpack to her chest. And in that instant, the truth had shattered every doubt. The villain had become the hero. And for the first time since that terrible moment at the store's exit, Maya could finally breathe. The truth swept through the store like a sudden breeze, scattering the thick cloud of suspicion that had hung over Maya. One by one, people lowered their phones, shame flickering in their eyes as they realized what they'd almost been part of. A few even stepped aside, opening a path for Maya as she emerged from the security office. No longer an accused thief, but someone who had just saved a life. The mother of the little boy was the first to reach her. Sobbing uncontrollably, she threw her arms around Maya. You saved my son, she cried, her voice raw with gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. The boy, still pale but breathing normally now, peered up at Maya with wide, tearful eyes. He managed a weak, grateful smile and clung to his mother's leg. The same crowd that had shouted accusations only minutes before now fell silent. Then, one by one, applause broke out, tentative at first, then growing louder, filling the entire store. The same phones that had recorded Maya's humiliation were now held high, capturing the moment of her redemption. Someone whispered she's a hero, and soon others echoed the sentiment. Strangers reached out, offering kind words and apologies. Even the manager, who just moments earlier had been the loudest accuser, now looked smaller, humbled by the evidence and the weight of his mistake. He approached Maya, his face flushed with regret. We're so sorry, Maya. We were wrong, he said, his voice cracking. He bowed his head in shame, the harshness gone from his tone. We should have listened before we judged. Maya wiped away a tear, offering a shy, forgiving smile. I just did what anyone would have done, she said softly, her eyes darting to the little boy. He needed help. That's all that mattered. In the days that followed, Maya's story spread beyond the walls of that supermarket. The video clips, first meant to shame her, now told the world about a girl quick-thinking courage and a community's rush to judgment. News outlets picked up the story, calling it a powerful lesson in compassion and the dangers of making assumptions. Headlines read, accused of theft, but security footage revealed she was a hero. Messages flooded Maya's phone and social media. Strangers from around the country, and even overseas, sent words of encouragement and admiration. Some shared stories of their own struggles with being misunderstood or unfairly accused, grateful that Maya's story had brought attention to an issue many face in silence. The store, eager to make amends, issued a public apology both in person and on their social media pages. They offered Maya a year's worth of free groceries as a small token of gratitude. More importantly, the manager and staff began new training to ensure that no one else would suffer the humiliation Maya had endured. Maya's university held a small ceremony in her honor, highlighting her selflessness and courage. She was invited to speak to students about empathy, and her words resonated with everyone who listened. But Maya's message remained simple and unchanged. In every interview, every post, and every conversation, she reminded people, never judge someone by what you see in a single moment. Sometimes the real story is what you miss. The story became a beacon, an inspiration to pause, to ask, and see past our assumptions. And for Maya, what began as the worst day of her life ended up revealing not just her true character, but the possibility for change in the hearts of everyone around her. The store would never be the same, and neither would Maya, whose quiet heroism turned a moment of accusation into a lesson in hope, empathy, and the power of a single act of kindness. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon so you never miss an update.